Welcome back to the second hour of Voices from Afar here on Truth Frequency Radio, where we can also be heard on iHeartRadio. And the 100 people I work with, they say, how can I tune you in? I tell them, you got a smartphone, go to iHeartRadio. And those of my friends that are listening tonight, I hope you're enjoying the show. Tonight we have Larry Buck Hunter on, who wrote 7 Days in Hell, I Was There. And such an incredible, saintly man. And I was speaking to his granddaughter, Andrea Mcelrea, earlier, and we decided we would like her to share her story. So how are you this evening, Andrea?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here with you guys.
So tell us, when did... Wow, that's one hell of a road you were on. You were on the highway to hell.
Yeah. I was happy to go there at that point. I actually put that in my book. I'd rather sit in hell and party than be on a cloud and be bored, but things change.
Yeah, we know that it gets pretty boring up there in heaven, having everything you wish for at any moment, et cetera, et cetera. So, Andrea, please tell us your story, dear.
Well, I did 13 years inside of the Idaho Department of Corrections, which is a lovely place. 2.5 of those years I actually spent in the death row segregation unit. So there's only one woman on death row in the state of Idaho, and I got to live right next door to her, which was like super lucky for me. But
joy.
Yeah, it was incredible. I really loved that part of my stay. And while I was actually in the segregation unit there, I think probably a total of 5 times I tried to kill myself there. I actually ended up slitting my wrists in both arms and bleeding out on the floor, and I have over 40 stitches in both my arms. And when I woke up and I saw that the stitches were in my arms and I wasn't dead, I picked them out. So I was not very impressed with my life. I mean, my grandpa, I grew up with a wonderful grandpa. So like, it doesn't matter to me. I would give minutes off my life to make sure he lived longer than me. I never want to live without him. And he badgered me like my whole life. He's like, you got to be a Christian. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I am not doing that. You're not going to make me. I don't like Christians. I think that they're stuck up and judgmental, and I hate religion and I hate Christianity, but I love you, Grandpa. And he was very adamant. He's like, you've got to do it. And I never would. I just didn't like it. So in prison, they used to call me Satanica, because I spent 10 years studying to get my 3rd degree high priestess. People refused to live with me. They said that I put spells on them and made their hair fall out, which I didn't, but whatever. And it was just a nasty place in there. And so I ran a lot of the Wiccan services there. I fought to get all of the supplies inside of the prisons. And because of it, it got me administrative segregation. They used my religion unofficially against me to get me into segregation. And once I got there, I rebelled against the system very badly and landed myself there for quite some time. And then when I got out of prison after that long stretch that I had done, I got out from segregation, and I didn't really get out with any skills or anything as an adult. And so once I got kicked out of the prison and I had lost everything once again, I had no classes, no skills, no coping, no anything. And so I turned back to doing drugs yet again, went back to prison. And then, the next time I went back to prison, I had actually started doing a little bit better for myself, and I ended up not even making it 4 months before I'd ran to Reno, and I was in a heap of trouble, and I just kind of gave up. Like the drugs weren't getting me high anymore, and the life wasn't satisfying me, and I was wishing every day that I was dead. And I called my grandparents on the phone, and I heard everybody in the background eating spaghetti, and I just wanted more than anything to be there, and they said I couldn't come over there. And I think that was the day that I just decided to stop doing drugs. I came back here to Idaho, and I got myself turned back into the jail. When I got in there, I just felt hopeless. Like my life's always going to be inside these walls, and I'm not doing anybody any good. And so I hung myself, and gosh, I didn't make that time either. I guess I just failed at hanging myself. And the officer that pulled me down was crying when I opened my eyes. He was so upset, and I felt terrible. And I called my grandpa, and I was like, Pops, I don't want you to tell my mom, but I am in the infirmary because I hung myself. And he was like, Dre, do you believe in an insurance policy? And I was like, yeah, Pops. And he was like, well, then I want you to say this prayer with me. And I was just thinking in my head, oh my gosh, here we go again. Whatever. So I don't want to say it, but I love you, Grandpa, you know, and I'm going to do whatever you ask me to do, because if I'm going to die anyways, I don't want to disappoint you. And so I said this stupid thing, and I felt horribly awkward. And I said his prayer that he wanted me to say, and he told me, well, I guess if you want shampoo and conditioner, you're not planning on killing yourself, so I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, and when you said the prayer, there's that old expression, fake it till you make it, and evidently you did make it, dear.
I did. So when I said that prayer to my grandpa, he decided to buy me some books, because that's what my grandfather does. He really likes books. And so he bought me some books, and I was like, well, I'm going to read this crap, because that way I can disprove it when he tries to talk to me about it, and I can have an educated argument instead of just being ignorant to Christianity in general and hating them. And so I read it. I started reading it, and things started changing, and my attitude started changing, and things made sense to me. And I was facing a habitual offender charge. I have 9 felonies in the state of Idaho. 3 felonies actually gives you the habitual charge. So I was on a parole violation with 8 years, 3 new felonies, and the habitual offender charge. And they told me I was going to do life. And I didn't want to come home. I didn't ask anybody. I never prayed to anything. I didn't do any magic. I just heard this voice while I was reading my book, and it said, for the sake of your children, I'm going to send you home. And I knew that wasn't my voice, because I didn't ask to go home. I never really made it out here in the world, and prison was my home. You know, I don't know my kids. And I was like, that's impossible. It's not going to happen, because I'm going to go do 15 years to life. And then I wasn't. It was actually true. So the prosecuting attorney got up in the courtroom and told the judge that the recommending sentence of the prosecutor was wrong, and that she sees faith in me, and that she would humbly ask the judge to reconsider the sentence and give me credit for time served. So instead of 15 years fixed, I walked out of there with 1 year left, which landed me in the work center.
Oh my. Yeah, somebody tapped that prosecuting attorney on the shoulder, huh?
Because I was not going to get that. That was not the option on the table. And I fought it for a while, but I just kept telling myself, I heard that voice. It's not my voices, you know, something's got to be true. And I learned to read the Bible. Sometimes I didn't understand it, and I am really smart, but it just like I would float off and I'd read the same page over and over and over. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I just read? But eventually I got the hang of reading it, and I completed the entire Bible, and I've read 4 translations of it now. And I wrote 2 books. I'm in the midst of typing one right now. My grandpa's going to get it published for me. But so the book project, my grandfather, he was like, gosh, you're soaking up these books so fast. Let me order you some more. And I was getting over my property limit inside of the prison, and I had to give my books away. I started sharing them with other girls. And then they loved the books so much that my grandpa started buying them books. And then it spread like wildfire throughout the prison. And when I was a witch, I actually went to pick my sister up from this church that she was going to, and there was this guy named Pastor T there, and I was a witch at the time, and he pissed me off. When I was standing on the church property, I actually spit on the church ground at his feet and flicked a cigarette at him. So I had asked for a chaplain to come and see me, and when they called me into the visiting room from inside the jail, and I went walking in, and it was Pastor T. And I sat down in front of him. I was like,
you gotta love how God works, don't you?
Oh my gosh. I was like, man, do you know me?
Christian.
Like, no. Yeah. He didn't actually remember me because I had changed so much throughout the years, but he definitely remembered the defecation on his church property. He was not impressed. He was like, that was you? And I was like, yeah, guilty. He was like, why are you sitting here in front of me right now? And I said, well, funny story is I kind of just had some questions about the Bible, and I was wondering if you'd be willing to talk to me. And once I told him and I talked to him, and I guess I started teaching him stuff he didn't know, and he's even been to Jerusalem, he started coming see me every single day, and he saw me every single day my entire incarceration. We hooked him up with the book project. My grandfather got him hooked up with Bible so he could bring him into the prison, and we got him so that he was preaching again, which he hadn't been doing because of his health. And in the Ada County Jail, I went from segregation. I was in segregation when I started, and they told me I wasn't getting out of segregation. they moved me to the inmate worker dorm and gave me a job sitting on my butt sewing all day long and drinking free coffee. So it was kind of a stretch of them telling me I would never get out of seg, and I did. And they didn't believe the change either. Everybody was just kind of in shock. And I don't know, I never felt like I did anything. I didn't change. I didn't do anything to be different, but I look back on where I was and what I am now, and I could see that there's a marginal change, and only God could have done that.
Amen. It is amazing. With God, all things are possible. That's just it. You cannot put limits on the infinite, ever. Yeah. And so we're amazed that there are miracles in our life, because, you've just described how if everything was set to go one way and it suddenly, miraculously turned another way. And they gave you more options and more freedom and helps. And just, there was a bigger plan. There was always a bigger plan. I'm even looking at this going, your grandpa was doing what he was doing, but then he ended up in jail. And you, for whatever circumstances, you ended up in jail. And so he had that to share with you, and that was a way for you to bond, for whatever way. And the books, and how it all just came about, the whole book program. And this is just so cool, man. God is so awesome. Anyway.
Well, I think it seems like he threw both of you guys in jail so you could be free.
I think so. I thought about that. I was like, the only person who I ever would never, ever, ever in life want to go to prison went, and he experienced everything that I experienced, and he was older than me, and it would have been a hard adjustment for a man of my grandfather's age in the prison. And I was terribly upset when he went, but it saved his life. A lot of things were wrong in the life before he went there. Like, his health was fading and life was stressed out in our family, and him going there, I remember the first time that my grandfather said, I made it. I walked all the way to the dining hall. It's the longest I've walked in 3 years. And I was just so proud of him. It saved his life. And God does have a purpose. People don't see it. Sometimes we think, well, I asked God, and it says, if you believe with the belief of a mustard seed, then you'll get it. And we ask, and God doesn't give it to us. But that's because we had a different prayer. At one point, we prayed for something else. Like, we prayed for our family's safety. So now we got it granted to us, you know what I mean? And then we go back and change it. And that's what happened with my grandpa. I think that God had a better purpose for our lives. And it sucks that we had to suffer, but nobody gets strong by just taking the easy road.
And and I can relate, because one day I sat and counted my suicide attempts because I wanted out of here. And it literally takes two hands. I came very close one time in 24 hours on a respirator, yada, yada, yada. But every time I attempted it, I was ready to die. And you are a story of salvation where, oh my God, I mean, the hell you've been through in this 3D world, anyone can get saved, my dear. You are such a great story.
Thank you. I don't really feel proud of my past, but I'm definitely glad it helps people. I wouldn't, I wish sometimes that I was a little more refined when talking to people, because I feel out of my element. A lot of people are different.
Joy.
But you speak with such passion and fire. You don't have to worry about whether you're saying it right or not, because it flies out with such passion and zeal.
And
don't worry about that at all.
Right. The spirit moves you.
Right.
No, I just want to help people. Like, my whole life, I think that because of watching my grandpa, he's been my biggest inspiration. My grandfather's like my father. He is my grandfather, and he's done it my whole life. He's given his last quarter in his pocket to somebody that needed it, even at his own expense, and he's never gone without. And so I did that in the wrong aspect. Like, I gave myself to men that didn't deserve it, and my heart to people that didn't deserve it, and I gave away my money to people that were getting high and stole to give to people that was getting high. And I think that it was just catastrophizing my soul. And now that it's different, I get to do what I love. I get to spend God's money and buy books for all of these people that I've done 13 years with. And I get to make their day happier through God. And I would do anything to continue doing that, no matter how down I feel in myself or how hard it is to adjust to life out here. I know right when I'm sitting down and I'm ordering all of these books, and there's 850 of them, and I'm ordering them, my soul is happy.
That's what it's all about. Right there. Right there. We were discussing earlier about how, Larry, how you had everything and lost everything, and we were each recounting our stories. And, I had the big 3-story house and the pool and the garden, the orchard going and everything, and the salon and the business. And I got divorced, and I went to like nothing. Like nothing. It's whatever they didn't take out of the house, I had to move and keep with me. And I kept working, and I kept losing clients when I was doing hair, and then I went to doing something else, and I'm doing that again. And yeah, it's very humbling, but I enjoyed what I had, but it's made me see what I don't need. And life has gotten very, very different,
Definitely.
And I love it. I love not having all of that, honestly.
It makes you feel free, right?
Yes. It makes you feel free.
When I got out of prison, my grandfather and grandmother could not, for the life of them, ponder. They got me a $20,000 car. It's a great Cadillac. And they also got me a room to live in. And instead of coming in the house and sleeping in the house, I slept in my Cadillac for the first 2 weeks because it was out under the stars, and I got to hear the horses, and I saw the moon for the first time. And it was just
that matter.
And my grandma couldn't understand it, but my grandpa explained it to her. Like, when you have nothing, when you're free of all of that stuff, you don't miss it. Like the stuff that my grandpa lost, like I've told him before, look, what did God do for Job when Satan took that stuff from him? He gave it back to him sevenfold. And, most people who are rich, they wish more than anything in the world that somebody loved them for them. And how grateful every day I am that I have people who love me for me, and I don't have that stuff. And that's not what they love me for, because I've had that stuff and I wasn't happy.
But it isn't about stuff. It's about who you are inside and what you can give to others. It's all about giving to others because you get it back twofold.
It's much better giving. I would give my sock to somebody if they needed it, and I'm happy to do it.
Giving you shall receive, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. In order to receive, you must give. I've always said it's like the old well. You have to pump, but you have to prime it. You have to give a little bit in order to get an unlimited amount out of the well. But you have to give.
Just spit on it just a little bit, Angela. Just a little.
Yes.
Andrea, sorry.
And you cannot outgive God. It's a fun game. Try it. I dare you. But you cannot outgive God.
My grandpa's a pretty wise man. He told me, and I was worrying about the money. Where's the money going to come from to help these people? And my grandpa's like, God will pay. If that's what God wants you to do, God will pay. Don't worry about it. Just do the work.
Wow.
That's right.
When I actually got out of prison, this last time I came out here to the District 3 Probation and Parole Office, and there was a prison guard that had switched over to the District Parole Office. And when I went in to check in with my parole officer, he was like, Weiskircher, I have something to show you. And I was like, oh, no. Well, 6 years ago, I had made a voodoo doll of him, and I put a bunch of pins in it, and I put it on his chair before he sat down.
That's wonderful.
It's on his shelf in the probation and parole office, and he's had it in there for 6 years. I was like, really, Mr. A? And he's like, best voodoo doll ever.
Oh my God. You like uncursed it, right? It's all clear, right?
I really just did it to be funny. People used to like hold their breath if I walked into the church. I'd be like, gosh, guys, I'm not going to set the church on fire, I promise. Or people would be like, what are you going to do? Put a spell on me? Ooh. And so I just would make a joke out of it. Like, hey, I made a voodoo doll of you. And they'd be like, hey, where's my voodoo doll? I'm like, I got one with your name on it. Keep it up.
Having studied Wicca a bit, I do understand all of this, and I understand the energy. And for me, it's being brought up Christian and then studying everything else and understanding the energy and basically the mechanics of the miracles, which doesn't dismiss it any. It makes it all the much cooler. See, my English is very goodish too. It really is. It's just so much more when you can understand how all this is going. You're like, oh, so that's why, at least for me anyway. So it's cool having understood the energetic side, the spiritual side, and how it all ties together, and how no one religion can actually hold and understand or give you all the answers to God, because God is infinite. But
And
but
God
you can't separate the physical from the spiritual ever.
No,
And on the subject of witchcraft, when I was a witch and I would talk to the mean Christian people in prison, because let me tell you, they're not nice. They would be like, I don't even care. I don't even believe in witchcraft. And I'm like, man, what kind of Christian are you? If you believe in God, then how do you not believe that he says that it exists? Because he tells you not to practice it. And Pharaoh had magicians that turned the water to blood. They copied all of the tricks. There was lots of magic. They prayed to Balaam. Like, how are you going to sit here and tell me that magic isn't real when you're a Christian and that's your doctrine? How is that possible? You guys are supposed to be educated in this, so I guess you're going to be a next victim, because if you don't have, you're not putting yourself to be protected. You're not praying on God for those protections, and you don't believe in them. It makes you a victim.
Yeah,
Amen.
people may not believe in God, but they'll sell their souls to Satan. Evidently, there's a judge in your life that helped you out in a miraculous way.
I'm not sure which judge.
The one that went along with the prosecution.
Oh yeah, so the judge that this last sentencing, he was a new judge, and when we were sitting in the courtroom, after he was going to give me that sentence, he put his papers down after the prosecuting attorney talked, and I literally was like, I couldn't breathe, and he sat there for the longest time, and I was like, what is going on? Did he like forget how to talk? And then he said, I'm going to go against my better judgment here, which this is really against my gut, but something's telling me not to give you this sentence, and I'm going to change it today. And you better not ever come back in front of my courtroom again, or I'll make sure you never see the light of day. And I was like, what? Did he just say I only have 1 year? That really just happened?
God moved his heart. See? He was there.
He did. He had to have. God is the judge. I never in my history of being the baddest person that I could ever be and doing things just to be bad, I've never had a judge or a prosecuting attorney defend me. Like, I started crying when she was defending me, because I was like, how is this happening? How is this lady believing in me when I just did all of these terrible things? I don't understand. But it moved my heart, because I never had somebody besides my grandpa stick up for me like that, especially a stranger who was convicting me.
And you were facing 25 years to life, correct?
I was facing the habitual offender charge. So I had 8 years left on my parole sentence, 12 years on my new sentence, which was what I was agreeing to, and the habitual offender charge of life. And they would have been not concurrent, because it was my 9th felony. So, and I should have actually been a federal inmate because of my last reign of terror that I imposed upon the citizens of Reno. But they wanted to give me the worst punishment possible, and money crimes in the state of Idaho carry longer time than federal crimes. So they retained the jurisdiction on me, and they charged all my co-defendants with federal charges. So they all skated, and I skated too. I got the better deal.
God had a mission for you. You're a woman on a mission.
And I will try to do it every day. Some days, I don't know, but I know the Bible says, like, hey, you're trying to look for God. Well, there was an earthquake, and there was a fire, and there was a wind and a rustling, and God's voice was the whisper in it. He wasn't any of the loud things. It's the whisper inside you. You got to listen. It's very subtle. God's soft. And sometimes I'm like, am I doing the right thing? I don't know if I'm doing what God wants me to do, but I just keep going. I just go with whatever God said.
That still small voice.
Yes, and suggest your grandpa suggesting that we have you on, and it was wonderful. And we're going to be in a break in about 30 seconds. And Andrea, I want to thank you so very much for coming on the show. I mean, you're an inspiration. You and your grandpa are such an incredible inspiration. And this is one of the missions, when I mentioned a mission from God giving me this radio show. And my first mission was to interview the major at the Salvation Army where I stay. And every day and every other show comes a new mission from God. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Thank you.